just a drug, but I'm making progress.
Hello everyone, welcome back to LA Life. My name is Divina. So for the past couple weeks, I have been posting some videos about the homeless situation in LA, how it's gotten very much out of hand. So I thought that for this week I would change the pace a little bit. Instead of showing you those clips, I had decided I would talk about the experiences that I've had with the homeless in LA. So, I'm not gonna lie, 99% of them were not good. Not good at all. But 1% was good. I ran into a couple of homeless people that were nice. So I'll start with the humorous story for you guys. So there was this day that I really needed to do laundry. This was before I had a car. And I was living with my uncle, and I was like, man, I really need to go to the laundry. I needed to do my sheets, and there was no way I was going to be able to carry all that to the laundromat. And my cousin, she usually took me, but she was still at work. So I was kind of thinking about it, and then my cousin was like, well, hey, there's this shopping cart across the street. Why don't you take that? And I was like, okay, sure, why not? I need to get to the laundromat, so let me just try it out. So I went up to the shopping cart, and let me tell you, the shopping cart smelled horrible. It definitely smelled like it was being used by a homeless person prior to my using it. So I was like, well, you know what? We've come this far. Let's just keep going. So I loaded my stuff up into the shopping cart, and I started making my way towards the laundromat. I went down this alley that was always full of homeless people, just lined the alley. And so I went through the alley because it was the easiest way to get to the street to cross over to the laundromat. And as I was walking through the alley, I passed this homeless man, and he looked at me and he was like, God bless you, everything's gonna be okay. And I was like, thank you. As I'm walking away, I'm like, he thinks I'm homeless. I mean, I guess it made sense. I mean, I looked clean, but I had my clothes in garbage bags and stuff. Well, my blankets were in garbage bags. I had a laundry basket for my clothes. Yeah, so I was like, well, I don't know, maybe it was also the fact that the cart smelled kind of bad. Made me seem even more like I was a homeless person. So I'm like, well, whatever. So I'm waiting to cross the street, and I'm at the light, and I just felt like everyone was staring at me. And I look out at the cars, and they are. And as I was crossing the street, I heard this lady in her car, and she was like, oh my gosh, she's so young, and she's already homeless. I was like, I'm not homeless. Oh wow, I finally made it to the laundromat, and I ditched the car immediately and loaded up my things, and I immediately texted my cousin. I was like, hey, I'm at the laundromat. Can you come pick me up when you get out of work? So I was not about to be traveling around in this car. But it was just a funny, experience where I was being mistaken for a homeless person. So anyway, so that was my humorous story. Now to more of the bad experiences that I've had. My first encounters with homeless people in LA, I lived in a house with my uncle, and across the street there was a park. And I remember that when I was first starting to hang out with my cousins, we went to go work out in the park. And I almost tripped on this guy that was just laying out in the middle of the park. I was like, oh, sheesh, this is normal, I guess. And yeah, I just was kind of shocked. It was like my first up close, oh, sheesh, there's a homeless person there. I do not want to wake him up or step on him. Yeah, so that's when I kind of started realizing how bad the homeless situation was in LA. And mind you, that was, years ago now, and now it's like 10 times worse than what it was then. My next story, this was also when I still lived in that area. Close to that alley where there were the homeless people. There was this guy, and he looked very scary, and he had a mohawk and stuff, and he seemed kind of grungy. So I would see him before, and he had like sticks and stuff that he would bang around and stuff. He seemed kind of dangerous, but you know, I just figured I'll just stay out of his way, whatever, you know. And then one day he got a whip. He had a whip, and it was huge. And he would just go around and just slashing it down and hitting things and making car alarms go off. And I was like, oh my God, why does this guy have a whip, and why isn't anyone doing something about this? I was very scared of him. And the worst part was that he was like in an area that I needed to go through to get to the bus stop that I would take to work. So I would end up having to take the long way when I saw him, because there's no way, man, I was going to get up close to that guy knowing that he had a whip. And one day, actually, when I was coming home from school, I saw him getting arrested. And there were some neighbors out, you know, watching it all go down. And so I asked someone, I was like, hey, what's going on here? And they were like, oh, well, he had this whip and he accidentally hit somebody. And I was like, man, that is crazy. First of all, I can't imagine how bad that hurt. I mean, he was really cracking it down, and you could hear it all the way down the street, him cracking this whip. So I can't imagine how bad that hurt. You know, I'm really sorry for the person who got hit. And yeah, but I was honestly just happy that he was getting taken off the street. I mean, he was obviously not all the way there mentally, and really had no place being around people, especially not close to a park where there were, you know, kids hanging out, and there was an apartment complex close by too, and there was kids that would play outside of there, you know. I don't know who he hit, but he could have even hit a little kid, and I can't imagine, you know, the damage that would do. Big old whip hitting somebody. So there was that story. I was taking a Chicano studies class, and we had this extra credit project where we were to go to downtown LA and take pictures of ourselves with landmarks or historic things in downtown LA. It was kind of just a project for, like, if you weren't from LA, me, to get familiar with the cool things that could be seen around LA, and if you were from LA, it was so that you would get to know where you're from, you know? So I thought it was a really cool project, and I was really excited to do it, especially, you know, because I was new in the area and I wanted to know about these different things that LA had to offer. So I was, you know, happy as could be. Me and two friends, we were walking down this bridge. It's close to the Placita Olvera. And we walked past this homeless lady, and she spits on me. It was so gross. Mind you, I didn't do anything to offend this woman. I barely even made eye contact with her. You know how you're walking past somebody and, you know, you kind of glance at them, but it's no more than that. Well, I walked past this woman and she spit on my neck. You know, just turned and spit on me. And I was so grossed out. And you know what? Sorry, my camera ran out of memory in the middle of my story. But anyway, as I was saying, it's not even specifically that she was homeless. It's just, you know, the fact that she spit on me. I mean, if you got spit on by anybody, it would be gross, right? So, yeah, that was terrible. Ugh, I will never forget that. Anyway, so another bad experience that I had with a homeless person. There was this gentleman who was homeless, and he had been drinking, and he was living out of his car. And he hit my car as he was trying to do some sort of turn or whatever. I actually wasn't there. I didn't witness it. My cousins did. They literally saw him just back into my car. And then he just took off. And in that case, you know, what are you supposed to do? Like, who are you supposed to call? Not the Ghostbusters. Sorry, lame jokes. Anyway, so I mean, even if I were to call, like, let's say the police, he's not going to be able to pay for the damage that he did to my car. I still have that dent in my quarter panel. I never got it out. I still need to do that. And hopefully, eventually, I will have the money to do so. But yeah, So that was really unfortunate and very disappointing, especially because I had just gotten my car and I had gotten it from one of those auctions, you know, so it needed some fixing before I was going to be able to drive it. I had not even driven the car yet. It literally was dropped off by a tow truck and the body was in perfect shape when I got it. And now it had a dent in the quarter panel because this homeless man decided to run into it. Sorry, I really need to do a better job of not talking so much with my hands. But that still gets me heated. Another interesting and slightly humorous story that I have, I ran into a lot of crazy people on the bus, man. I honestly should make another story time video just about my experiences on the bus. Crazy times. There was this homeless lady. She had gotten off. She smelled pretty bad, and she definitely did not seem to be all the way there. She was jumping around from seat to seat. I was in the back of the bus just because there hadn't been many seats available when I first got on anyway. But she was at the front and she was dancing around and stuff, and people were getting off, and I would see people kind of walking a little ways after they got off the bus. I'm thinking that people were like, this is close enough, man. I don't want to deal with this woman. But there came this point where she was like yelling and screaming, and then all of a sudden she kind of laid back into the into the seat, and you know, kind of like imagine like a Y formation. She did that with her legs, and I kid you not, the smell freaking hit me. That was so bad. That was so bad. I could not believe that the smell even traveled like that. Ooh, no, it was nasty. It was so nasty. And she got off the bus, right? And she kind of looked around a little bit, and I guess she realized that she wasn't where she wanted to be. So she tried to get back on, but dang, that bus driver slammed that door shut so fast and took off. And she was screaming and banging against the windows as we were pulling away. And I was like, thank God, man, good job. I did not want to deal with that. For my next story, there was also a period of time where I was working at Pollo Loco, and it was pretty close to my house, so I walked there. And we had our fair share of homeless people coming in there. All different sorts of crazy people. But one in particular that I remember, this guy, he didn't seem to be off at first when I saw him. It wasn't until I realized that his pants were like slit from the crotch down. It was, you know, just barely covering him. Really, it was just more attached at the waist than anything else. And he seemed a little bit off when I saw that. I was like, oh, okay, well, he's probably homeless. And then he starts mumbling, and he kind of starts walking around, and I asked my manager, like, what am I supposed to do here? You know, there wasn't any other customers to attend to, but I was like, should I ask him if he wants something? She's like, oh, just be polite. And so I asked him, I was like, hello, sir, do you want to order anything? And he was like, chicken. I was like, okay, yes, we have chicken. And he came closer, and, you know, I was like, well, was there anything on the menu in particular? And he just started mumbling a bunch of incoherent things that I really couldn't even understand, kind of under his breath. And then I was like, sir, are you gonna order? Because someone else had come in. And I was like, you know, because there's other people. And he slammed down his like EBT card, and he was like, aren't you freaking listening to me? I'm telling you that I want some chicken. I was like, yeah, I don't know what kind of chicken you want, man. No, stop yelling at me. It's not my fault. And so I was like signaling over to my manager. I'm like, hello, I really don't know what to do here, man. This man's kind of holding up the line now, and he's kind of going crazy. And so manager kind of took over, and she's like, you know, like, we have some meals like this and this. And, you know, she named off a couple of different combinations, and he was like, okay, that one. And so he handed this EBT card that was like folded in half. and he was like, here, and it wasn't going through. Or actually, she walked away and made me process the payment. I was like, don't leave me. So I tried to process the payment. The EBT card didn't work. And he was like, you guys are useless and all this stuff. Started screaming at me. And I kind of felt like he was going to come over the counter. So I started backing away. And I was like, I really don't want to deal with this right now. Thankfully, eventually he did leave. My manager ended up kind of shooing him out. And yeah, that's like the last really like significant story that I remember. I did mention in my last video the other story about the homeless man that I ran into when I was walking to the grocery store. He had a knife and stuff, and he was kind of waving it around and whatnot, and that was scary too. The man was obviously also mentally disturbed, and I don't know where he got the knife, and you know, hope he never got around to hurting anybody, but that time I was able to successfully avoid that situation as well. When I worked at Pollo Loco, sometimes we would have orders that were made incorrectly or something, and we would take it back from the customer. Usually they would end up throwing those things away anyway, and so there was a couple times that I was able to actually take some stuff and give them to the homeless people that were on the street that I lived on. And some of the people that I ran into there, they were nice. And you know, I can't say why they ended up being homeless, right? I can't say that about anybody. I don't know their story, you know. But those people, they were nice, and it felt good to help them out. I wish I could have done more, and I still want to do more. I'm hoping that eventually I can kind of do something soon. Maybe like make some food or something and pass it out. I don't know. It's just such a big problem, and I know I'm one person, and I would love it if it would have a solution, but you know, I kind of, when I think about, you know, the things that I could do, I kind of think about there's some sort of saying where it's like you could give a man a fish and he'll eat one day, or you could teach him how to fish and he'll be able to eat, you know, his whole life. So I think about how, like, yeah, I could go out and give food to these people, but it's only like a small day. It's only one day, you know, that I'm giving them something to eat. So hopefully, I don't know, hopefully we can figure out something to do for them. But yeah, that was like, felt good doing that when I worked at Pollo Loco, being able to do that. Just, you know, at least it was food that wasn't in the trash, and I was giving it to them. And yeah, those people were nice. So I know that not all the homeless people are bad, but most of the experiences that I've had, as you can tell by these stories that I'm telling you, were pretty bad. Anyway, guys, I hope you enjoyed this week's video. I hope you got a couple of laughs from the crazy stories that I had to tell. And I'll see you next week. And also, don't forget to like and subscribe. And thank you so much to my new subscribers. Welcome to the channel, and I hope you're enjoying the content.